Hello and welcome to the Wine Access Experience. My name is Eduardo Dingler, Vice President of Wine at Wine Access, and today we have a pretty exciting chat, virtual chat as it is, or series that we've been doing these days. And today we have a rock star in the world of winemaking. We have Stephanie Putnam, who is just about to join us, and a lady that's majestic in the world of wine, and she's accomplished a lot of top wines, top 100s, great scores, and her wine really shows all the passion and love behind it. So cheers, and we are waiting for Stephanie as we speak. Stephanie,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Look at you. It's been quite a bit since I seen you in person, and it's great to share a little glass and a conversation with you today.
Yeah, this is actually my first time doing IGTV by myself. So
Wow, unbelievable. That's
I
awesome.
know, I'm excited.
It is great to have you. Let's talk a little bit in the background for everybody that's joined us. This is Stephanie Putnam, a person that has carried the weight of wine really high in her shoulders. And she continues to make incredible wines through Raymond. And I've been a huge fan of you. Tell us a little bit about your trajectory and how you ended up in the wine world.
Well, I was pretty fortunate. So I was born and raised in Northern California. And I always say that my parents were some of the original foodies. So when I was
Oh.
8 years old, I knew where the dessert fork went. I knew where the salad plate went. We would have multi-course meals, not because we were, had a lot of money. It was just my parents eloped. They bought
Just
their
the
own wine and
culture.
silverware, and they're like, if we bought it and it's good for everyone else, we can use it on a daily basis. I hated it because I had to wash it by myself, right, as a kid, any extra chores. And so it was always kind of like that wine and food. And I actually would pair, I got to try whatever wine they wanted,
Uh-huh.
that I got to try whatever wine they were drinking. And I would also color coordinate my grape juice to whatever wine they were
That's
drinking.
awesome.
I even had, it gets cuter, I even had my own Baccarat decanter for grape juice when I was a kid. So I could,
Uh-huh.
my parents were going to decant wine. I would decant my grape juice, or I would try their wine. So it was something that I always grew up with.
You were
Um,
destined for it. Yeah.
I was destined for it, but I took a little blip in the whole journey. I went to Davis because I wanted to be an FBI agent. I think you've heard this, and
Uh-huh.
I was
Yeah.
sadly too short, and it's a big mistake on their part.
Lucky for us.
And lucky, I can't imagine actually doing anything else. I took a class in wine, and I'm like, I get to drink every day. This is awesome, and I've never looked back. I think it's one of the great things about the wine world is that you get to meet lots of very creative people, and it's a very energetic and exciting.
I mean,
And
especially for you working with John
yeah,
Charles, which is nobody like him, right? It rubs off that contagious
there is
energy.
no one like John Charles anywhere in this universe.
It's a fireball. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So you went to Davis, and then
Mhm.
what was your first incursion into the actual hand-on winemaking?
Oh, well, I got a job I did a small internship at Mondavi in the
Uh-huh.
lab. And I was hired. The only reason they hired me was that I used to do a lot of rock climbing. The guy who hired me
Uh-huh.
used to do rock climbing. Then I went and got a job in the cellar at Test Collection. And I worked there
I remember,
in the
yeah.
cellar for almost a year. Again, they hired me because I used to do a lot of rock climbing, and that meant you were strong because it is a very male dominated field in the cellar, and that's fine. I can hold my own. I don't have a problem with that. And I joined Hess right when they were making the big jump.
Uh-huh.
So I was at Hess for 10 years and went from cellar worker to enologist to assistant winemaker to winemaker.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a huge growth curve at that time. And this was
Uh-huh.
without aging myself too much. This was, right when the 60 Minutes came out about wine is good for your heart health, and you could literally chart the growth of most wineries in California before that 60 Minutes and then after. So we just grew. and I was
Uh-huh.
fortunate to grow with them. And from there, I was recruited to join Farniente to
Yes.
help them kind of elevate their style, maybe modernize it a little bit. And I was there for 8 or 9 years. And then as I like to call it, the very shy John Charles purchased Raymond. And God help me, this is actually a true story. I literally wrote him a letter and said, you're not going to find anyone who's more passionate about bringing Raymond to the next level and to, the forefront of everyone's mind as I am. Because Raymond, when I started out, was one of my competitions. So I used to compare myself to what Raymond was doing.
And kind of
And
just go. Yeah.
we were just, same production, same scores, same price point. So they were really, one of my first competitors. And, after a while, if you're no longer reinventing yourself or you're doing more than 20 cases, people forget about you. So Raymond just was this quietly making great wine, but maybe just needed a little freshening up. And I thought that would be a perfect fit. And it's been a wild ride.
Absolutely. No, I mean, definitely. I remember when you guys first took it over and you came on board, and we've done a few different things, to say the least, over at the winery. But seeing what you guys have converted, and as I was telling Jean Charles last time we met, is every time a friend or family or anybody that comes into the valley, and let's say they're not really well versed in the winery, or it's their first experience, that is the first stop. I mean, walking through the world of senses, seeing the theater of nature, biodynamic versus conventional farming, everything you guys, it's like, wow, that's a sensory experience that really enhances and really educates in a way that doesn't feel like education. It's like more interactive and pretty fun.
Yeah, and I think that's what John Charles has really captured, and I think what we do really well at the winery is we create experiences for people, right? You can
Yes.
do a formal tasting outside right now, of course, or you can, make it a little bit more formal, but we kind of cater to whatever you want.
Totally. And the thing I love is, I remember the thing we did with sommeliers, and we blended the wines, and it was like a camp. And now you do that for anybody. Like, you can just sign up and do it, right? As a regular
So
person.
the winemaker for a day, yes, you can do that. Unfortunately, right now, I think they've closed indoor tastings again in Napa,
Uh-huh.
but you can come for an outside tasting. And I think we're actually finding ways to create that winemaker for a day experience and sending it to you at home. So you can create
Awesome.
that experience. Not quite as much fun as the winery, but, it's our little stopgap until we're all
Oh, and
normal
it
again.
really connects you to the wine, and it's a fun hands-on thing, which elevates the experience a little more.
Yeah.
So anybody that knows you in person knows that you're really mighty. You're like way bigger in life than life, right? And you're really a ball of energy. So tell us a little bit how you've been working with the wines, and what's your like favorite things to do to enhance it and put them at the level that they are since you took it over.
Well, I mean, there's never just one thing that you do, right? It's all these little things that you do in combination that kind of add up to the sum is greater than the individual parts. And I always like to tell people, yes, we did a huge facelift to the front of the winery, but it's really equally important to know that we've done just as much work behind the scenes. And it's also, as I like to say, it's not just me. There's an entire team of people, right?
Absolutely, and a team that's
That
been with you forever. I mean,
forever.
every time I go and visit, I see all those faces, I recognize them, which is it's a big statement.
But I don't have any more gray hair, just saying.
Never had.
The most important thing is getting people to buy into what you're doing. Because if you can't get people to buy into what you're doing, then they don't care, right?
Exactly.
So you can't just say, well, now we're going to do, like, for instance, I brought all berry sorting when I started. I was like, oh, no, no Napa fruit is going through that machinery. It's all going to be individually berry sorted. Well, that's a big change. You got to tell people why you're doing something so that they understand. If they can understand why, then they'll make it happen. But if you're just telling them to do it, no one buys into it, and you don't get that extra level of attention or care or love.
Totally.
So we brought in extended maceration. I'm a big believer in that. I feel like it really helps lengthen the wine and build the middle palate. Gives it more of a complete wine.
Elevates all the parts.
It elevates all the parts. It makes it a complete wine, not wine that has lots of fruit or lots of tannin. It's a complete wine where everything is a little bit more knit together.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is unfiltered. Everything, I kind of weeded out some of what I would consider vineyards that weren't really meeting our standards, and then brought in new vineyards. So, new cooperages, of course, we're French, so we use French oak, right?
Has to, yeah, yep.
Charles probably would be mad if we used American oak, but yeah, no. So I mean, it's a lot of little things, working with the growers to elevate what they're doing, and like, if we're going to pay you this much, I expect you to be doing these things, right? We're going to go out and we're going to watch and make sure you're doing those things. Change your cooperage, extended maceration, berry sorting, unfiltered.
That shows, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears for a second and tell us a little bit about you. What do you enjoy doing aside from making wine? Where can we find you, like on a weekend or your day off, or what moves you?
Well, I think most people know that I'm an avid scuba diver. And, right now it's a little hard to do scuba diving. I actually just came back from a fly fishing trip.
Awesome.
In the great state of Montana. Was doing catch and release for some rainbow trout. And if I can't scuba dive, then I will fly fish.
That's what does it. And what sort of wines do you drink at home aside from the ones you make, of course?
Ooh. Well, okay. So, everyone says that, it takes a lot of great beer to make wine. And I'm actually more of a gin girl. So if I'm not doing our wine, I like Chateauneuf de Pop. I think that the Rhone has some really nice values for the wine quality. So it's either gin, my stuff, or I go to southern France.
Wow, that does tell a lot about you. Yeah, I mean, you like the complexity and richness, and wow, that's awesome. And tell us a little bit about this vintage. How's walking the vineyards? How's everything looking? I mean, please tell us it's something good, because 2020 we can pretty much scratch off. I'm hoping the wine at least is going to be the best ever. So what's your take?
Well, I think you always have to aim for the best ever, because if you're not trying to do your best, then you're never going to get it. So right now, I was actually just talking with our vineyard manager, Sophie, and she was telling me that we haven't seen any color yet in our Cabernet. We're seeing a little bit of color over in Russian River, but it's tracking more like 2016. And 2016 was a great vintage. It had some really nice soft texture. Like 14 was a very texture-driven vintage. 16 has that, but perhaps a little bit more fruit. And so I think that's where we're going.
I love it. I'm actually drinking some of that 16 generations right now, it is incredible in the glass.
Ooh, wow. Well, I'm one-upping you. I'm drinking the 17 generation.
Ooh. Well, you win. As always, that's awesome. So
no, I think it's going to be a great 2020. I think it's going to be a great vintage. Every indicator out there tells me that it's going to be a great one.
Wow. Well, cheers to that. I think everybody heard it here. It's definitely something really, really good to look forward. And so hopefully it's going to have that lengthy longevity that's going to carry on, and richness. And that's amazing. Wow. I wanted to also ask you, what was it going to ask you? Your mentorship, like, who is it, somebody that you've always looked up to in the world of wine and said, this person gave me so much, or I learned so much from so and so?
Actually, it was going to be one of my original bosses, Randall Johnson.
Oh, absolutely.
Over at Hess, or Artisan. And he was incredibly patient. And one of the things that I loved about him is that he's very thoughtful in his approach. And sometimes when you're trying to make, all the blends happen, you're like, Randall, we got to go. He's like, but Stephanie, have we thought about this? I'm like, that's not going to be a problem. and then you learn that it actually is a problem. And so he really taught me to take a step back and look at all the finer details, because all of those details will count.
Absolutely. No, I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times, and I've seen the way he works, and he's really methodical, and that was
Very
definitely
methodical. And he's actually still, I'm in a tasting group with him. I went out to dinner with him last year, and so we're still, even though I haven't worked for him for a very long time, I'm still close to him.
It's somebody you take a lot from.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Stephanie, thank you so much for taking the time to hanging out with us, and I cannot wait to see you in person.
I know.
Give you a big hug.
I can't wait either.
Share a bottle of wine, and I remember those dinners by or meals by Michel Cornu that were just incredible, just great memories. So, wow, thank you so much, and be well, and stay positive. Thank you so much for sharing that amazing stuff about 2020 and your career. Cheers to you.
And cheers to new memories.
Yes, indeed. Cheers. Thanks, everybody, for joining us at the Wine Access Experience. Stephanie Putnam and Eduardo Dingler. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.